Hello plant friends, I have a feeling that this little Sarcochilus orchid doesn't really like the pot that I planted it in. Join me this week as I investigate where I could have made a better pot choice. My name's Alonia and welcome to my channel. I'm a novice orchid grower here in suburban Western Sydney, navigating the wonderful world of orchids. I'm learning how to grow these beautiful plants so that they thrive here in my somewhat wacky subtropical climate, and then I share what I learn along the way with all of you. Southern Hemisphere style, of course. A few months ago, I started a potting experiment with a few Sarcochilus orchids where I planted them in different types of pots, but using the same planting media, the same watering and misting schedule, and placed in the same light. And one of my plants is not really thriving. Today, I'm going to provide a winter update on all 5 plants in this experiment and decide if this one is worth repotting or if the roots are compromised and needs to be consigned to the worm bin. It really is a little early in the year to be doing this kind of work, but the nights are not as cold as they were back in July, and this plant is not thriving. So I don't think there's really much of a chance of saving it if the roots are withered. Sarcochilus, commonly known as sarks, are a genus of small to medium epiphytic or lithophytic orchids native to Australia and parts of New Guinea. The most well-known of the species of Sarcochilus is the Hartmannii, which has contributed to many of the modern hybrids. And I recently acquired this Sarcochilus Hartmannii, and it's potted here in a water well style pot, which I made out of a clear soft drink bottle. I'll link some very reputable growers in the description box below if you are interested in acquiring a plant of your very own. Speaking of acquisition, this is more of a PSA for my Australian viewers, and I want to touch on something important, and that's the legality and ethics of collecting orchids in general from the wild. In Australia, all native orchids are protected under state and territory laws, and this means it's illegal to remove them from their natural habitat without specific permits, even if you find them on private property. Wild populations can be extremely vulnerable to disturbance, and collecting wild plants can threaten their survival. If you see Sarcochilus or any other orchid growing in the wild, the best thing you can do is enjoy them where they are and take photos instead of plants. If you really want a particular species or a hybrid, please buy it from a reputable nursery or a licensed orchid grower who propagates them legally. Many of these growers use seedling culture or division from cultivated plants, so you know your orchid has been raised sustainably. Not only is this better for conservation, but nursery grown plants are also generally healthier and are better adapted to life in pots. I'll drop a list of various state and territory wildlife and conservation acts in the description box below should you wish to do any further reading. Now back to the fun stuff. Okay, so the name Sarcochilus comes from Greek. Sarkos meaning flesh and kylos meaning lip, referring to the fleshy labellum of the flower. And there are approximately 25 species in this genus, with Sarcochilus hartmannii and Sarcochilus valcardus and Fitzgeraldii being the most prominent in cultivation and hybridization. The distribution of Sarcochilus orchids are endemic to the eastern seaboard of Australia, especially in New South Wales and Queensland, with a few species branching up into Papua New Guinea and the surrounding islands. They grow in moist, shady environments such as rainforests, gorges, and rocky outcrops, often near water sources. Their growing habit is typically monopodial epiphytes or lithophytes, meaning they grow from a single main stem and may attach to trees or rocks. They produce short, leathery leaves and often grow in a clumping habit. Flower spikes emerge from the base of the leaves and bear multiple small starry-shaped flowers in various colours ranging from white, pink, orange, yellow, red, speckles, stripes and flecks. These orchids appreciate consistent moisture but must not sit in soggy media. Watering should be done 2 to 3 times per week in warmer months and reduced in the cooler months. Ensure the potting medium dries out slightly between waterings. Mist in dry conditions if grown mounted or in open baskets. I'm misting these 3 to 5 times per week, even in winter, as I'm on the balcony, and as it's windier up here, the pots dry out a little bit faster. Sarcochilus orchids are moderate feeders. Use a good fertilizer at half to quarter strength as recommended on the packet every 2 weeks during the active growth, and in the cooler months, reduce the feeding to once a month or even stop it altogether. The light requirements on these, like most orchids, they prefer a bright indirect light, around 70% shade or filtered sunlight. Too much direct light can scorch the leaves, while too little will reduce flowering. Indoors, they do thrive near east or north shaded facing windows. outdoors, protect them from harsh midday sun. I position mine here on the wall just behind me, midway between the front face of my balcony and the sliding doors leading inside. This wall does face east and gets about half to 1 hour of sun in the morning year round, and they are shaded by a Chinese tallow wood tree, which is deciduous, so it's protected from the harsh sun during the midday summer. It does get good light during winter because the tree is deciduous. Being on the wall, they do receive a radiant warmth from the bricks, and with the balcony being protected from the hard roof above, they are protected from frost. They will tolerate the cold if they're not wet as well. If you're fortunate enough to live in a house with a garden, you could try outdoors under shade cloth, 50% thereabouts, from spring through to autumn, ensuring protection from hot afternoon sun. Add another layer of shade if the temperatures do get above 37 degrees Celsius. Also try wetting the ground to produce humidity and help with temperature management. I do pour water over my floors in the summer and set out bowls of water to evaporate. In winter, they can be moved to a sheltered patio, shade house, or protected cold greenhouse, ideally keeping minimum temperatures above 5 degrees Celsius. If you're growing them indoors, position them near a bright window with plenty of air movement. These like a lot of air. I find they are better kept outside though. Sarcochilus do well in a well-draining, moisture-retentive mix. Ideal blends do include fine to medium orchid bark, sphagnum moss for extra moisture retention, perlite or charcoal for aeration. Here in Australia, some growers use 100% out of the bag orchid mix for these, but mine are in my bespoke bark, perlite, sphagnum and charcoal blend because I already had some made up and wanted to use that up first before opening new bags of anything. Some growers use mounts or baskets with moss and bark for better airflow. As I do work full time, I don't have the time to dedicate to the extra work mounted orchids require, so it's pots for these babies for now. Maybe I'll look into mounted orchids when I retire. For this experiment, I used a combination of small plastic or terracotta pots with good drainage. Sarcochilus orchids have compact root systems and prefer tight spaces, so don't overpot. Clearly, I ignored my own advice when I selected these pots. Most of mine are slightly overpotted, and as such, when I potted them, I did pack the planting media in a little firmer than I normally would. With this Hartmanni, I used a plastic soft drink bottle that I punched holes into with a soldering iron. This is the same principle as the water well pots, but it's just a tighter fit being a smaller vessel. Okay, let's unpot this plant and see what's going on and if it's worth trying to save or if it will be consigned to worm food. Okay, this plant, when I bought it, it came with this label which is totally illegible. I have no idea what that says. Something or rather yellow, something or rather, I've got no idea. So I'm not too worried about this one, but let's pop this out of the pot and see what goes on. Okay, so this one has been watered just a little bit to hopefully soften it all up. The media looks very dry despite being watered a lot. And the plant roots are looking very dry, although there is a fresh one coming just here. So I might separate this bad boy out, keep the rest of that, and plant it into a much tighter pot. So let's see what kind of tighter pot I've got. Okay, so I have this soft drink bottle that I've got. It's the spare pot, and I think I might use this one for this sarc. All right, so using my sterilized scissors, I'm going to cut these bad roots off. Now, I'm not going to clean off any of the bark that's stuck. I am just going to cut off these roots that are dry and desiccated. You could leave some of these roots on to give it stability in the pot. That's if you wanted to do that. All right, I think that's good enough for now. This is actually still quite damp, so I'm going to reuse that. Now, one of the things I want to use is this fiberglass mesh to help protect the white stones in the bottom. And I'm just going to cut a piece to fit over in this pot. I'm not too worried if it doesn't fit perfectly. fiberglass mesh. You can buy it at the terrarium store, which I'll link below. Alright, so now I will push that down in there. I don't know if it comes up well on camera. And then I am going to put some bark and mixture in the bottom. It's the plant in, and then just fill the pot. Here's the Sarcochilus trimmed up, and here is the piece that is going to go into the green bin. The media is already quite damp and I haven't put any plant food or anything in here. I'm just hoping that this will provide the roots a little bit more compact and structure over there, and hopefully this plant will do better. But for now, I think hopefully this will do much better in this smaller pot. Okay, now that that plant has been repotted, let's have a look at these other ones that I've got. Now, the one that we repotted was the second plant that I had in the terracotta pot with air holes in it. Now, this one here is the Palmer Tetra Star crossed with Culnara Bethany, and this plant is actually doing okay. So it's got a little bit of damage on the leaf, and that was because a dendrobium beetle took it. But we've got new crazy roots. We've got some new shoots over here. This plant seems to be doing better than the other one. The second plant that I've got here is one that was planted in a non-modified water well pot, and I will put some previous footage that I took to compare these. I did have to clip it up to a stake though. But again, it's got some roots coming out from between those clips. It's got a baby here. There's a new little leaf coming through just here as well, which I'm pretty happy about. Overall, it's looking all right. The fourth one I've got is the one that I put into the water well that had holes punched into the side, and this plant is doing spectacularly well. This is the surprise. This is almost doubled in size, I think. It's also got a nice little shoot coming through here. There's a new root coming out of the base of the plant there. This one might flower this year. It was in flower when I bought it, and it is a yellow. It's a delightful plant. I'm hoping it will flower. I don't know if you can see, but there's the remnants of the initial flower spike just here. So fingers crossed that this one is going to flower. Again, there is a new leaf coming in at the crown there, and I'm really liking how this particular type of pot does for this plant. And finally, I've got the control plant. This one is Culnara Omai crossed with Culnara Opus Vision. I don't remember what the flower of this one looked like. If I find a photo, I'll pop it here. But again, it's got new roots coming out. This one's potted in perlite and polystyrene. Anyway, it's doing okay. It's a little sitting a little high in the pot. I might throw some bark around to stabilize it. Again, it's doing all right for being in polystyrene, although I think this year I will take it out of the polystyrene and pop it into bark. And finally, not part of the potting experiment, but a plant that I did get, sorry, it's in this very long metal hanger. This is the Sarcochilus hartmannii, which I just bought from a company in South Australia, so it came bare rooted. I had to pot it. Again, a little early to be doing that, but I'm keeping it warm, and the roots are, I don't know if again you can see that, but there is a bit of humidity on the inside of the pot. So this one hopefully will do all right in this modified drink bottle. Overall, I'm extremely happy with how these plants are doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do come spring. If you found this video helpful or informative, be sure to check out one of my other videos linked in the playlist. And if you would like to follow along on my mad adventure, please do press the like and subscribe button with the notification bell turned on. It really does help the channel out. Grow well, enjoy your plants, stay alert, and remember, your plants are always going to surprise you, and it's usually when you're not looking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.